Hey, this is John at Gatti's Garage. Today we're going to finish up our twin carb manifold and get started on our Sissy Bar. Stay tuned to see how. Morning everybody, welcome back. Monday morning in the shop here. We're going to work on the Panhead build a little bit. Plan for today is first up, fabricate the Sissy Bar. And then depending on how all that goes, if time allows, probably get a little bit more work done on the dual carb manifold. So we'll just have to see how time goes. As always on Mondays I'm limited on my time. So just going to get done what we can and take it from there. So anyway, glad you guys are here with us. Hope you're enjoying this build, and we're gonna get to work. Alright, so first thing we got to do is bend our material into a U shape. That'll be our first bend. We're going to use this 5/8 stainless steel. Our fender is about 6 inches wide, so I grabbed this piece of scrap 6-inch material, put it in the vise here. That's going to allow us to load the round bar in here. We'll get it nice and hot, and then we can just lift it up and make a U-bend over top of this piece of material. So obviously first thing to do is get our torch fired up here and get some heat in our piece of material. You want to get your material nice and hot and try and bend everything in all one motion. Just makes for a smoother, cleaner bend. If you have to do it in a couple heats, it can be done, but it can cause you some smooth. Alright, we got our U-bend. Clearly this would be easier if you had a second set of hands. I'm going to kind of test fit this width on the frame here. That's looking perfect. We're going to cool this down in the sink. Alright, so next up on the agenda is we're going to do a little bit of a wishbone bend on both of these to sort of mimic the front leg of the frame, or legs of the frame rather. And that'll also get us out to our final width we need to mount the Sissy Bar. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get our first bend put in. Alright, so we got that all cooled off in the sink. And now we're going to kind of look at our height, which we want pretty short. I think probably somewhere around here. So next thing we got to do is machine some bongs to mount on the frame here, which this will mount to. Alright, well, we're back over to the lathe. Gonna machine up these lower mounting bongs. Need to make two of these, so I'm going to work from both ends of the materials doing the operation. Just makes for a little bit of a quicker go. Face both sides, then we'll center drill, tap, then we'll cut them off and machine the face. There we go. We got our holes drilled, tapped. Now we're going to cut these off real quick and we'll come back and machine the outside nose. Alright, so we got our two pieces cut off. We're going to go ahead and face the end just to get a nice square end on there. Alright, so we got our bungs on the frame. Really liking how those are looking. Now we're just going to slide this Sissy bar in here. I'm going to kind of line it up and mark where we want to cut it off. Alright, we got our marks. We'll go ahead and saw this off and see how we did. Alright, we're cut to length. I'm going to go ahead and put this on here one more time. Actually sitting on top of the bungs for the first time. And I'm liking it. Grind a little radius in these bottom legs here so they fit on the bungs good. And then we'll have to drag the TIG welder over here, get set up, and tack this thing into place. Alright, so I'm looking at this rear Sissy bar section, and I'm just trying to figure out how we want to mount this. Obviously this is going to lean back a little bit, and so I'm thinking about doing like a little toe cap almost on the tip of the fender. So just working on a pattern here with a bit of cardboard. So the idea here is, well, I guess I gotta move the camera so you guys can see it. Okay, so the idea here is that this will kind of go on the fender which this will go on the fender here. We'll curve this piece. I have like maybe 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3 button head, nice slim bolts, and then this will lean back here and get welded to the sissy bar. So then the sissy bar will mount here and it'll hold the fender here, which I'm really liking. So this may be our stopping point because I got to run this by the client. I usually do sort of basically what I want, but I like to check with them because I don't want to do something that they really hate and then have to redo it or something of that nature. So but yeah, I'm really liking that. I'm gonna see if I can grab a clamp or something and figure out a way to just kind of clamp this on. Probably take a couple tries to make this piece. We'll draw it up on the plasma table, obviously, and use that as a way to make it and then fine tweak adjustments. But I'm okay with that. And I don't know, it's something a little bit different, but I think it could be cool. So we're gonna leave that with that. Chuck will be in tomorrow, I'm sure, and we'll see what he thinks of it and then decide from there as far as going with this or going with something else. But I'm liking this, so we shall see. So we've gone as far as we can with the fender. Gonna go ahead and jump over to the intake manifold, start getting all these parts welded up. First piece is the main body of the manifold, which mounts to the stock intake manifold. We're gonna pull that off the motor here. All right, we got this manifold off. Well, we got the TIG over here. Gonna go ahead and weld this face in. We'll throw this in the lathe, machine this off, bolt this back on, and get our splitter welded into place so we can do it while it's sitting on the bike and get it nice and level. Alright, we got that welded up nice and clean. We'll let it cool off. We'll throw it in the lathe, face that back off, and that portion of the manifold will be done. We'll bolt it onto the motor and continue on with our next pieces. So now that the part's cooled, we've got it in our lathe here, and we're going to go ahead and face it off. Pretty big interrupted cut here for most of it. So we're taking it nice and easy, about a 10,000th cut on each pass. The welded area gives us a little bit of trouble. I don't like the finish of it too much. So I started trying for a 5,000th pass just to see if we can get a little bit better surface finish. It appears whatever the alloy of the welding wire is, which honestly I couldn't tell you, just doesn't suit itself well to being machined. So I went ahead and switched out the insert real quick to a nice new sharp insert. Took another 5,000th pass, and it was, suitable for what we need. I'll probably lap it in a little bit on some emery paper on a nice flat surface, but overall it's more than suitable for our application. Once we made that final pass, went ahead and popped the part out of the machine. A little quick deburring on all the surfaces, and we're ready to put it back on the bike. Got our main manifold part on the bike, so now we're going to go ahead and get our splitter fit up. This is obviously what we need to mount the two carburetors. So mounting it to the motor and doing it like this so we can just get a nice eyeball as far as what looks level and uniform. The motor doesn't sit dead level. Nothing's really dead level on a bike like this, so I usually will just eyeball things. The eye doesn't normally trick you. If it looks good and straight, it's more than suitable, especially in the applications we're doing here. It's really all about aesthetics on this stuff. If it was a slight bit crooked, it wouldn't affect the way it ran anyway. So we got that part where we want. Go ahead and put a couple of tacks on it. And once we get it tacked up, we'll pull it off and full weld it down on the table where it's got easier access for us to get all the way around the manifold. I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed over the time watching the videos, if you're not new to the channel, my hands shake. My hands have always shaken like that. It's crazy. Sometimes the more I try and hold them steady, the worse they shake. And had several people over the years tell me I'd never be able to learn how to weld with shaky hands like that. So if you got shaky hands, you can weld. Sometimes it can be a little difficult and give you a little trouble, but don't sweat it. If you want to learn how to weld, get out there and do it. Alright, so again, using the same technique as before, we installed the carburetor mounting flanges, and we'll go ahead and welding those up to the individual spigots on our splitter. So last thing to do once we got those welded up was go ahead and test fit the carburetors. So just fit up a couple of those, just loose bolted on there. Obviously we still need to make some gaskets and stuff, but overall it's looking exactly how we wanted. Just a little quick overview of what we got done today. Got our Sissy Bar all mocked up, and our intake manifold for our split amyl carburetors is completely welded. Obviously still needs some metal finishing, and we got to make some gaskets and throttle cables and all that good stuff, but the manifold itself is complete. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today. As always, thanks for joining us. Please don't forget to nail that subscribe button so you can keep up with everything going on around the shop. We got a lot of cool projects that are underway that you guys have been seeing, and we got a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline for 2024. So please don't forget to share. subscribe, and let us know what you think of the content. We appreciate you being here, and we hope to see you next time at Gatti's Garage.